to Vishnu IAS presents Daily News Protocol. As per this initiative, we have been covering all the important articles of the Hindu for both prelims and mains. And today, let us look at today's newspaper of the Hindu. The first article of the Hyderabad edition discusses about the contempt of court. High Court closes contempt case against Venkatram Reddy. Let us look at what is contempt of court. The Constitution of India doesn't define what contempt of court is, but the Contempt of Courts Act 1971 defines two types of contempt. One is civil contempt and other is criminal contempt. Let us look at what civil contempt is. Civil contempt is nothing but if you disobey any High Court judgment or Supreme Court judgment, that will be considered as your civil contempt court. And second is your criminal contempt. Under criminal contempt, there are three types of contempts. One, if you tend to scandalize or lower the authority of the court. Second, if you tend to interfere with the due course of any judicial proceedings. And the third, if you try to obstruct with any justice administration, it will be considered as your criminal contempt. What is the legal backing to the contempt of court? Apart from Contempt of Court Act 1971, there are two articles in our constitution which deals with contempt of court. One is Article 129. In Article 129, the Constitution of India clearly gives Supreme Court the power to contempt for anybody Under Article 129, Constitution of India has explicitly given Supreme Court any power to contempt any person. Similarly, under Article 215, the same powers have been given to High Court. Our next article, Twitter governance in Telangana. So this is new initiative that is going in Telangana where you put out your grievance redressal on Twitter, tagging the minister or anyone, tagging a minister, you will be getting an immediate response. Why is it important? There is a section in paper 2 called governance. This will form an important part for that. E-governance. What do you mean by e-governance? When you use ICT tools for governance purposes, that becomes your e-governance. You can provide your grievance redressals, you can give your proceedings, you can give your complaints, you can transact anything. All these come under e-governance. And in this article, the article discusses both the merits and demerits of Twitter governance. First, let us look at demerits. The first is there will be no checks and balances. Anybody can give any grievance redressal and there will be no authenticity to check the credibility of the complaint. No oversight or responsibility. Any official can either take it seriously or loosely based on their interest of the content. There is no legislative backing. For example, in Telangana, the RTA Act is offline. Despite having a legal RTA Act, there are more than 1,000 complaints which are unaddressed every year. They are only available to people with digital literacy. You all know that not everybody can have a digital literacy. Not everybody can afford internet and know how to use their phones and how to speak English. This will become a major drawback for people using e-governance. But what are the merits? Since everybody can see everything online, it will become a transparent thing and officials are bound to act on it. Immediate action. Once there is a complaint online and once you can see the online, there will be a tracking system in place. It delivers a good administration. The whole governance process is to provide a good administration. So, e-governance forms an important part of delivering good administration. But this Twitter governance cannot be simply let be there. It has to be backed with something and it has to be backed and used along with other governance processes that are already in place. Now, let us look at our next article. Plea in Supreme Court on gender bias in Hindu inheritance law. Hindu inheritance law is guided by a law called Hindu Succession Act 1956. This law is codified based on the Mitakshara school of law, which is a Hindu law. In this law, it states that the male are the sole legal heirs, and also not just Hindus are somebody who comes under this act. Buddhists, Sikhs, Jains and followers of Arya Samaj, Brahma Samaj, they also come under this act. That means except Muslims, Christians, Jews, everybody else comes under this particular act. This act, without an amendment, specifies that the male heir is the only parcellary of the entire law. The male heir is the whole he will get the inheritance of the complete ancestral property. But this law has been amended in 2005. It states that not only the son, the daughter also gets equal law when there is no will in place. The common property and the ancestral property will have both shares of son and daughter equally. Yet, this law is basically gender biased. If the daughter passes away without leaving an heir, the entire property will go to the male side of the family and not to the female side of the family. Hence, people are fighting to bring a gender bias to this particular law. Our next article is regarding mRNA vaccine. Science and technology is always confusing, and every day a new invention keeps coming. So we are trying to bring you and we are trying to simplify what is mRNA for you. Traditionally, vaccine is something that you weaken the vaccine and then induce into your body and then try to bring antibodies to that particular vaccine. This has drawbacks. Sometimes it provides mild symptoms to the person. To avoid these systems, we are trying to develop something called mRNA technology. In an mRNA technology, let's just assume that a virus has spikes which will be attached to your cell and reproduce and then weaken your body. Your immune system will take little time to provide antibodies, but by this time, this virus will give significant amount of this virus will already weaken your system a bit. To avoid this, what our scientists are trying to do is there is something called mRNA, RNA in this. There is already something called RNA in these viruses. What scientists are trying to do is they are trying to artificially synthesize one particular part of this virus, and then they will try to induce it in a body so that your body will recognize a certain virus. But this will be the non-harmful part of the virus, and your body will immediately form antibodies to the system. Once the antibodies are formed and when the actual virus actually attacks you, your antibodies will know where to attack and when to attack. This system is very fast forwarded process, and it's also you can expedite these processes and save a lot of lives using mRNA process. And the last topic of the day is India-Australia trade agreement. In a historic agreement, India and Australia has signed economic cooperation and trade agreement, and this is very significant and in terms of international relations. This agreement contains a gamut of things, that is your goods, your services, rules of origin, your sanitary and phytosanitary measurements, trade dispute settlements, so on and so forth. So you can see that there are a lot of topics covered under this particular agreement. First, let us look at the rules of origin agreement. Rules of origin is basically a tag which says where it is getting originated from. This is very important because to analyze the anti-dumping measures. Let's just say China will import to Australia and Australia will thus import to India. So this will form a pact between India and China and not between Australia and China, making dumping measures. To avoid such measures, there is something called rule of origin agreement, which states where the particular good is manufactured from. Let us look at what are the exported items from India that Australia has agreed to. There are very labor-intensive sectors like your gems and jewels, textiles, food, agriculture products, engineering products, medical deliveries, and etc. So, and what are the imports that are going to get from Australia? They are basically primary raw materials and intermediaries such as coal, mineral ores, wines, etc. For the first time, India is willing to open a wide range of alcoholic and non-alcoholic drinks, including Australian beer. That is interesting, isn't it? Let's come to services. In services, in IT, ITES, yoga, education, in so many sectors, wide range of gamut opportunities have been opened up. if you are a student working in Australia, there is a work period that has also been extended, and vice versa for Australian living in India. They have also agreed, especially in pharmaceutical industry, to approve the patented generic and biosimilar medicines. There is a small task for you. Read about what biosimilar medicines are. And for dispute settlement mechanism, they both have mutually understood and signed upon treaty. They have both mutually agreed that they will make every effort to solve the issues, either through external agencies or by an internal mechanism. If there is an external agencies, they made sure that they both are the parties to that particular organization. And finally, this is expected to increase the trade between India and Australia to $49 to $50 billion from current $27 billion. This is also expected to increase 10 lakh additional job opportunities, and this will play a major role in relations between India and Australia. That is all for today. We will meet you next time for other daily news protocol. Thank you.